Open the gates at the end of the day. Open the gates at
The capital of Korea, Levenson is a tradition that shows that there are difficult times to stand upright. We should always do the prayer standing. The capital of Korea, Levenson is a tradition that shows that there are difficult times to stand upright. We should always do the prayer standing. The capital of Korea, Levenson is a tradition that shows that there are difficult times to stand upright. We should always do the prayer standing. The capital of Korea, Levenson is a tradition that shows that there are difficult times to stand upright. We should always do the prayer standing. The capital of Korea, Levenson is a tradition that shows that there are difficult times to stand upright. We should always do the prayer standing. The capital of Korea, Levenson is a tradition that shows that there are difficult times to stand upright. We should always do the prayer standing. The capital of Korea, Levenson is a tradition that shows that there are difficult times to stand upright. We should always do the prayer standing. What's going on? The capital of Korea, Levenson is a tradition that shows that there are
Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. And it's our chance to really say goodbye to Sylvia here and also in Detroit. We may turn this whole thing off, and then you can move a little closer if we have to, if the mics are not working. I'm not sure what's happening. Makomo Yavova Shalom. Unto this sacred place we have come, drawn by the eternal ties that bind our souls to the soul of Sylvia. Death has separated us, and you're no longer at our side to share the beauty of passing moments. We can no longer look to you to lighten our burdens, to lend us your strength, your faith, and your wisdom. And yet what you mean to us will never wither nor fade. Well, for a time we touched hands and hearts, and your voice still abides within us. And still your tender glance remains a joy to us. You'll always be a part of us forever. And so beyond the ache that tells us how much we miss you, a deeper thought comes to our minds that once we were together, and we'll always hold you still in mind to give thanks for life and love, the happiness that was and the memories that will never fade, for they're a gift that cannot be lost. You'll continue to bless our days and years. For this we'll always give you thanks. Amen. For thousands of years, we've gained comfort from the prayer of David, where he wrote in the 23rd Psalm of how we face these difficult times together as a family and as friends. Mizmor LaDavid Adonai roi lo echsar, binot desha yar bitzeni, el menuchot yanchileni. That the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters, as he restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies, and thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. For surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Well, it's been over 30 years that I've first was able to meet Sylvia and David and have that special moment, usually for Simchas. It was wonderful that we got to know each other for so many years. And when we talk about who's here today and who's with us today, it's generations. It's all the way from those that know her as Gigi all the way up to her children. So we're going to continue. It's a beautiful song. It's called Lador Vador. And it talks about from generation to generation. It's all the way from those that know her as Gigi all the way up to her.
Ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador, nagir god lecha, ulenetzach netzachim, ulenetzach netzachim. קדושתך נקדיש לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גוד לך, ולנצח נצחים, ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך נקדיש, לשבחך אלוהינו, מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד, כי אל מלך גדול, כי אל מלך גדול, קדוש אתה. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, נגיד גוד לך, ולנצח נצחים, ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך נקדיש. ברוך אתה אדוני, ברוך הוא, ברוך שמו, האל, האל, הקדוש,
As we read in the book of Isaiah that a voice says, cry out, and I say, what shall I cry? All flesh is grass, and all its beauty is like the flower of the field. The grass withers, the flower fades when the wind of the Lord blows upon it. For surely people are grass, the grass withers, the flower fades, but the word of our God shall endure forever. Well, as we think of generations to generations, we'll be hearing from many of you. The first is Diane, if you'd like to come up, and she has some words and thoughts and remembrances.
Sylvia Levenson was many things: wife, mother, mother-in-law, grandmother, great-grandmother Gigi, daughter, sister, aunt, great-aunt, and dear friend. And she excelled in all of these roles because to her core, she was a kind and compassionate and generous and loving person. Family meant everything to her. She held everyone close to her heart. She and Dad took such pleasure at being able to attend all of the family simchas. They loved to dance and did so beautifully, Many people have commented on having memories of them on the dance floor. Dad led and Mom followed, and for them it worked, not only on the dance floor. She was 20 years old when they married in July of 1945. Grandpa Regier gave her $500, and they had a beautiful wedding at the Pantlin Hotel in downtown Grand Rapids. It's now called the Amway Grand Hotel, and several years ago, when we were both in Grand Rapids for a family wedding, she wanted to walk back through it and show me where they had gotten married. She jokingly reminisced that funds had been so tight that night before the wedding, Dad had to share a room with an old relative with bad BO. She was 86 years old when he died in 2012, having celebrated 66 years of marriage. Sylvia was the youngest of Alex and Sonia Regier's 6 children, and according to her, surely a mistake, as Grandma Regier was in her 40s when she was born. So on behalf of many, actually most of us in this room, I would like to belatedly thank Grandpa and Grandma Regier for their mistake. Sylvia was a small baby weighing little over 5 pounds, and she spent her first several months sleeping in the bottom drawer of her parents' dresser. There were 18 years between her and her oldest sibling. She always felt quite lucky about her position in the family, as everyone doted on her. She's the last of the Regier siblings, and with her passing, it does seem as if a chapter has closed. I believe that those of us who consider ourselves Regiers feel a bit more adrift today as our anchor is gone. It is a testament to Mom and her siblings that we are still a very close-knit family of first cousins who reach out to one another to comfort and celebrate. Mom did not complete her college education. Grandpa Regier would only pay for 1 year. And because of this, she always felt she was not as learned as others who did. But she had excellent street sense and shared a lot of what I call Sylvia-isms with me. And I want to share them with you as we say our final goodbye. I hope that they will help you live a more complete and less stressful life. And if so, you can thank Sylvia in your own way. 1, if something or someone angers you, wait 24 hours before you address the situation. Probably 90% of the time, it won't be worth talking about, and you will have avoided saying something you wish that you hadn't. If it still bothers you, it is important. 2, try to look at things from the other's point of view. Think about how it would feel to walk in someone else's shoes. 3, don't ask a question when a statement is most appropriate. When it's a child's bedtime, why ask? Do they want to go to bed? It will only set up a confrontation. But rather tell them that it is bedtime, or if trying to help them learn to make decisions, then let them make a choice. Bedtime now or in 10 minutes. 4, think before you say no. And once you do, only change your mind if after careful consideration, you realize that you should have said yes. 5, if someone asks you to do something and you know that ultimately you're going to say yes, even though you really aren't happy about it, say yes right away with a smile. You get more credit for being a positive person than begrudgingly agreeing. And when you need some help in the future, likely the answer will be yes, since you help them so willingly. Thank you, Mom, for sharing these and so many other things with me. I will miss not having you nearby. I take comfort in knowing that you truly enjoyed your life. The beautiful smile on your face said it all. And I look forward to the time, and I hope the not too distant future, when I can look back on all the many wonderful memories we have of you with a smile rather than today's tears. She and I spent a lot of time traveling around the world together. And each time, I knew I would get to the end and then it would be hard. Each time we embarked, Sylvia would say a gutter shaw to a good, safe journey. So now on this, your most important journey, dearest Mom, a gutter shaw.
Thank you. After hearing those words, it's impossible to say that Sylvia won't still be with you for years and years to come. It's really wonderful. Eternal God, our creator, with the gift of your spirit, we are formed and you take it in return and we are but dust. We're grateful for the many blessings in the life of Sylvia and now bowed by grief because of their loss. Her mourners turn to you seeking comfort and light. Lord of compassion, grant them solace and strength and reinforce their faith, for you are our rock and our redeemer. Adonai Natan, Adonai Lakachi, Shem Adonai Mevorach. For the Lord has given unto us the soul of Sylvia, and now the Lord has taken her away. Praise be the name of God. Well, where do we get our strength? And these are difficult times, and everybody experiences them in different ways. And I think we get them from very similar to those as they were approaching Jerusalem. And they looked up to the mountain and they said, Esai Nayel Heharim Me'ayin Yavo Ezri. They look up to the mountain, they say, where do we get our strength, O God? And this is the song, Esai Nai.
Esaenai el Heharim, Esaenai el Heharim, Me'ayin Yavo Ezri, Me'ayin Yavo Ezri, Me'ayin Yavo Ezri, Me'ayin Yavo Ezri. Where will my help come from? Where will my help come from? My help will come from God, maker of heaven and earth. My help will come from God, maker of heaven and earth. Esaenai el Heharim, Esaenai el Heharim, Me'ayin Yavo Ezri, Me'ayin Yavo Ezri, Me'ayin Yavo Ezri, Me'ayin Yavo Ezri. Where will my help come from? Where will my help come from? My help will come from God, maker of heaven and earth. My help will come from God, maker of heaven and earth.
I think it's remarkable that we think of 2,000 years ago when that psalm was written, that it had such meaning for those people that were approaching Jerusalem and looking up to their mountain, as today we're looking at our own mountains and thinking about Sylvia. We're going to pause for a moment. We'd like to invite Ian up. Sonny boy, if you'd like to come up here and share a few words.
So as Rabbi said, most of you know me as Ian, but from my mother's point of view, I'm her sonny boy. Always called me that. She and I had a very special connection because she was the youngest and I was the youngest. My mother was the youngest of 6 children, and that means the rest of you are old. I couldn't ask for a better mother, loving, caring, and always there for me. She had an incredible moral compass. She always put herself in the other person's shoes and made sure that she did the right thing with their needs in mind. She was always the bigger person and always held up to her principles. She was an inspiration to her daughters and son-in-laws also. Now that's impossible. Who truly loves their mother-in-law? Okay. My wife would say, in certain situations where she was trying to contemplate what to do, and still does, what would Sylvia do when faced with a difficult situation? Being like my mother, well, it took a lot of discipline because you don't do what's convenient or feels good. You always did the right thing. You sure didn't want her wrath if you did the wrong thing. My mother had the most positive attitude of anybody I've ever met. She taught me you can be positive even in the worst of times. So when COVID hit and you couldn't go visit her, I would call her quite often, and I'd call her up on the phone and I'd say, "Mom, how you doing?" She goes, "Never been happier a day in my life." Now, who says that during COVID? Never been happier a day in my life. I mean, that pretty much exemplifies her tremendously. You always had a great time with my mother. She was so much fun to be with. When I was in college, this was before everybody flew everywhere. We would take trips out to see my sister Janet when she was here in Colorado. And those were the days when CB radios were very positive, you know, they were the big thing. So my mom, she would get on that radio. She already had her handle figured out. And those truckers by the end would love her. She had the time of her life. My mom always had a pizzazz for fashion and an incredible sense of style. She had special touches put on each little outfit, and she looked awesome. And my father, being an optometrist, she wore the most fantastic glasses and sunglasses ever. Now, when I was a young child, I learned some things very specific very early. Her philosophy was always choose the most expensive brand no matter what. Okay. She'd even go to the grocery store if there was one thing that was less and one thing was more, she'd say that must be better because if it wasn't better, they couldn't charge that much for it. Okay. So we went shopping one time when I was young for school pants, and we had narrowed it down to 2 pairs. There was a more expensive pair and a cheaper pair. So she says, "We'll take the more expensive pair." I said, "Mom, why would we take the more expensive pair?" She said, "When you look nice, the teachers and your friends will be nicer to you." Okay. When Mom moved to Denver, a few years later, we would celebrate her 90th birthday, and we wanted to have a party. So I said, Mom, how many people do you need to invite? Send me a list of how many people. So she sent my wife, to be honest with you, a list, and it had like 50 plus people on it. Now you got to understand, she had only been in Denver for like a year and a half. Okay. So I said, Mom, 50 people? She said, well, if it's too expensive, it's fine. I can pare the list down. I said, Mom, it's not too expensive. I said, but I've lived here for over 30 years and I don't have 50 people to invite to a party that I have. So I asked her, so then I said to her, I said, like, are you the queen bee here or something? In typical fashion for her, she says, not yet, but I'm working on it. Thank you, Mom, for being the best mother ever I could ever have wished for. And 68 years was a gift from God.
Well, the mysteries of life and death are beyond understanding, and we're always perplexed and overwhelmed when anguish befalls those whom we love. So now in sorrow, confronted by death, which has taken Sylvia from our midst, we feel our frailty, and like delicate flowers, we flourish only for a day. Eternal God, shepherd of Israel, guide us, your flock, with love and with compassion. And if in our grief and desolation we stray from you, do not abandon us, but draw us closer to you. I'm going to pause now as we invite Janet to come up for some words.
Shot here. Okay. Anyone who knew my mother would say she was loving, joyful, warm, giving, and accepting, and a woman of grace. But best of all, she was the most incredible mother and lifelong safety net. When I had a near fatal car accident at 28, my mother was by my side constantly, both when in the hospital and as well as at home. She lived with us for 3 months, selflessly taking care of both Danny and me. Danny always felt that he had the best mother-in-law possible, always kind, giving, and caring. He often commented that he won the lottery with my mom. They had a remarkably close relationship, and he loved her like a mother. She proved her generous and loving nature throughout my life. I can't remember having even one argument with my mom ever. There was never any judgment, even when I showed up in Grand Blanc dressed as a hippie. I could always count on her as a safe place to land and to be there when I needed her. It was on display always, but especially through trying times. In 2014, when my mom was 89 years old, I had to have a difficult 8-hour back surgery. My mom never left my side. She slept in a chair by my bed, both in the hospital and in the rehab facility. At 89, when I came home and was recovering and Danny was disabled, she took care of both of us. She insisted on doing it, even when others tried to relieve her, because as she said, these are my children. My mother was a beautiful person, fun-loving, and with an infectious smile and sense of humor, whom everyone adored. I will always remember being with her at a bar in Vail when she was 91. She was having a blast, laughing and dancing with strangers. She was extremely generous, loving, and engaged as a grandmother and great-grandmother. She had a big heart and gave pieces of it to everyone in the family. When there was a need, my mother was always the first to offer help. My mother was a gift in my life. She was my North Star, my confidant throughout life, and a soft cloud that enveloped me. Without her, my road through life just got a lot rougher. A big piece of my heart is with you forever, Mom. I love you, will miss you terribly, and will never ever forget you.
When we reflect back on Sylvia's life and all that she was to each of us here, we think of the Proverbs 31, where it talks about Eishes Chayil. And it says, Eishes Chayil meyimtza v'rachat mimeni mirchat, that a good wife, who shall I find? Her worth is far above rubies. The heart of the husband trusts in her, and nothing she shall lack. She renders him good, not evil, all the days of her life. She opens her hand to the needy and extends her hand to the poor, as she robed in strength, and she's always robed in dignity. We'll pause for a moment. We'd like to invite up Zach and Allie.
My sister and I were Gran's youngest grandchildren, and for us, Gran embodied what it meant to be a Levenson. Her courage, her optimism, and her love for her family was unmatched. And as my dad, Diane, and Janet have all mentioned, I challenge anyone, think of a Passover Seder, a Yom Kippur breakfast, a bar mitzvah, a wedding, an anniversary, a baby shower, or anything that she didn't show up to. If she got an invitation, I promise you, she's coming.
Gran knew that family was the most important thing in her life, and she had a big family. She had 2 brothers, 3 sisters, 3 kids of her own, 6 grandchildren, and 10 great-grandchildren. Without fail, every year we could expect to get a birthday card in the mail with a nice card and a little spending money for something special. But not only would we get a card on my birthday, I'd get a card on my brother's birthday too. Gran never wanted anyone to feel left out or like they weren't special or deserved to be celebrated. Like everyone has said, I can think back to so many times in my life when faced with a tough or challenging decision, my parents would always remind me, do it the way Gran would, with kindness, grace, and always taking the high road. I'll never forget how happy she was to be on the bima at my wedding and dance the night away with all of us at 95. She was truly special, and we will miss her smile and her glowing presence.
Gran was married to my papa for 66 years. And when he passed away almost 10 years ago, Gran, at 86, moved across the country all by herself to Colorado without her life partner to begin a new chapter. Most people at 20, 30, or even 40 years old would not be able to handle such a drastic change. But Gran thrived. When I came home for Thanksgiving or winter break from school, my dad would have to call weeks in advance to make sure that Gran's schedule didn't get filled up and she'd have a chance to see us. She had so many friends and always was off on great adventures. Thinking back, I don't know anyone else who would have the courage or strength to make such a massive life change so late in life. When asked how she liked Denver, she would always say how much she loved it and how happy she was. And that is an incredible testament to how great of a person Gran was. She was incredible, and she was a fantastic grandmother and an inspiration. Her love of her family, her optimism, and her courage to overcome life's toughest challenges are the things that I will never forget. And I hope to carry on as another generation of the Levenson family.
Well, we know of Sylvia as a Gran, but also as a Gigi. Now we'd like to invite up Noble, Driver, Atlas. Are they? Chair. Just have them stand. Want to just stand to the side here? Hold on one second. We want to be able to hear you. There we go.
Hi, Gigi. Written by Atlas, age 6, read by Noble and Driver. My Gigi, Sylvia Jean Regier, was the youngest of 6 children. She had the biggest smile. She loved to watch her great-grandchildren. Gigi loved to have her nails and hair done. She loved clothes and looking nice. She was especially good at remembering birthdays. She had brown hair and beautiful jewelry. I have been told Gigi and Papa Dave loved to dance. She always had candy in her apartment, and in her closet she had lots of pictures. When we came over, she gave us ice cream. She loved to go shopping. We were hoping that she would make it to 100.
Well, thank you. I don't think we could hear a better liking as to what Sylvia was like from everyone who's been here. It's really wonderful. It's the sadness that we all feel is also turns into such joy of what she offered to all of you in your lives. And where do we remember her? It's not so much here. It's not where we're going to leave on Sunday to head up to Michigan. But there was a beautiful poem that was written by a rabbi in Minneapolis. And it's always stayed with me for all these many years as to when we think about a loved one who we've lost. He wrote, at the rising of the sun and at its going down, we're going to remember her. At the blowing of the wind and the chill of the winter frost, we're going to remember her. At the opening of the buds and the rebirth of spring, the blueness of the skies and the warmth of summer, we're going to remember her. At the rustling of the leaves and the beauty of autumn, at the beginning of the year and when it ends, we'll remember her. We'll remember her because as long as we live, Sylvia is going to live too, because she's a part of us forever and we'll always remember her. We now rise for the chanting of Al Maleh as the cantor continues.
שכן ברמים, המשים מנוחה נכונה, תחת כנפי השכינה, במעלות קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הרקיע, מזהים את נשמת זלמנקה בת אליהו בשרה של החי לעלמה. בגן עדן תהי מנוחתה. בעל רחמים, אסיריה בסתר כנפו לעולמים. ויצרר החיים את נשמתה. אדוני הוא נחלתה. וינוח בשלום על משכבו, ונאמר אמן.
O God, exalted of, full of compassion, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of Zalmelka, Bat Eliyahu Vasera, and to Sylvia, who has gone to her eternal home. Master of mercy, we beseech you, remember all the worthy and righteous deeds that she performed in the land of the living. May her soul be bound up in the bond of life, for the Lord is her portion. May she rest in peace. The mourner's Kaddish can be found on your small cards for those that have it, and those who would like to join with me as we say, Yitkadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, v'alma divrach chirutei v'amlik malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechal beit Yisrael, v'agalav izman kariv v'imramein. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam omel maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. Yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'richu. Le'elah min kol birchata b'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran v'alma v'imramein. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imramein. Oseh shalom v'imramav, hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imramein. Almighty God, Master of mercy, healer of the brokenhearted, let neither death nor sorrow have dominion over us, but grant comfort, strength, and consolation to all who mourn the loss of Sylvia. May they always cherish what's imperishable in her life and bless this family with love and peace, that they may serve you with all their heart. May the memory of Sylvia inspire us always to deeds of loving kindness. Shalom, shalom l'rachok v'lakov amar Adonai. Peace, peace to the far and near, saith the Lord. Adonai oz li'amo yitain, Adonai v'rechet amo v'shalom, as the Lord will give strength to his people. Bless all of us with peace. Amen. Sit down for just a moment. Please be seated. We have a beautiful song that we're going to conclude with, and it talks about how Sylvia may not be present with us, but she'll always be present through the stars. That at night, when you're looking down from the heavens, it's called Yesh Kochavim. It talks about the stars above and their light coming down will always be her.
There are stars up above, so far away we only see their light. Long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us as we live our days. These are the ways we remember. We remember as we live our days. These are the ways we remember. We remember. Yesh kochavim she'oram megia arza, רק כאשר הם עצמם עבדו ואינם. יש אנשים שזיו זכרם מאיר, כאשר הם עצמם עוד בתוכנו. אורותי והשחת הלום הדרך. הם שמרים לאדם את הדרך, את הדרך. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember, we remember. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember, we remember.
As we now bid farewell to Sylvia, to your mom, to Gran, and to Gigi, we conclude with the prayer how the sun will no longer be her light by day, but nor the brightness of the moon by night, but the Lord will be her everlasting light, and your God your glory. Your sun shall no longer go down, nor shall your moon withdraw itself, but the Lord shall be your everlasting light, and your days of mourning will come to an end. This doesn't conclude our service as we continue on Sunday in Flint, but this is the conclusion of our service here today. Thank you all for joining with us and being a part of the family. For joining with us and being a part of the family. Oh, okay, tell them. Jen, if you tell them that's supposed to be on. Oh.
Do you love White Sulphur Springs?